Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. This is breaking news coming in at the top of the hour. News coming in. Prime Minister Modi begins his 5-nation tour. This is a very significant visit by Prime Minister Modi, the longest diplomatic tour since he took office. Modi reaches Ghana's capital, Accra. This is the first prime ministerial visit in 3 decades to Ghana. Modi's 9-day tour is the longest visit overseas, and it has begun. It started with a ceremonial reception, a guard of honor, and now bilateral conversations. But you can see visuals of how the Indian community, as always, has given him a very warm welcome in Ghana as well. There are music and Indian tunes that you'd hear through and through at his hotel, Jai Ho, being played by the Indian community. So that's the news that's coming in. This is the big story. We'll be covering the first story of the day. It is an important one at that. The fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has gone to Ghana, first of the 5-country, 2-continent tour of the Indian Premier, and it also includes his visit to Brazil, where he will be participating at the BRICS summit. Now, PM Modi lands in Ghana, first for an Indian Prime Minister in 30 years to visit Ghana. The Prime Minister has received a full ceremonial welcome. He was welcomed by Ghana President John Mahama. A guard of honor along with a 21-gun salute presented to the Prime Minister. Now, Ghana is one of West Africa's fastest growing economies. Its relationship with India is marked by robust and expanding trade and investment. India is the largest destination for Ghanaian exports. Gold accounts for more than 70% of India's imports from Ghana. Prime Minister will be holding talks with the President as we speak. There are visuals that are coming in of the leadership meeting, and both sides, the leadership will be reviewing the bilateral partnership and discuss ways to enhance it through economic, energy, defense and development cooperation.
All very happy to see him here. God bless Mr. Modi. God bless India. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Welcome to Modi ji in Ghana. We are so happy and we are heartwarming welcoming to you. We are very happy. Modi, Modi, Modi.
Sorry, it's our privilege to receive Mr. Modi in Ghana, and we are looking forward for the big opportunities to have a collaboration together. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Joining me is my colleague Pranay Upadhyay. Pranay, an important and a significant visit. A lot of people don't understand the significance of this 5-nation, 2-continent tour, but there is a lot of importance that India is attaching to Ghana. Tell us why.
Geeta, Ghana plays an important role as far as the Africa politics of India is concerned, because India is likely to engage with the African Union with the India-Africa Forum Summit. The 5th episode is likely, and before that, Prime Minister wanted to take a visit to African continent, and he would be, he's visiting Ghana right now. And while coming back to India, he'll be visiting Namibia, another important nation in the African continent. Ghana, as you rightly pointed out, as far as the mineral import is concerned, gold import is concerned, is an important destination. There is a 15,000 strong Indian diaspora present in Ghana. And India and Ghana has historic long relationship, but unfortunately after 1991 no Indian Prime Minister has visited, and that's why Prime Minister Narendra Modi has decided to visit Ghana at a time when India is trying to become an important voice of the global South. And if you see that the countries included in this 5-nation tour, like spanning in 7 days, Prime Minister would be visiting 2 continents, 5 countries, and all these 5 countries are part of the global South community. India is a prominent voice for this global South. But as far as the Ghana is concerned, Prime Minister would be addressing the Ghanan Parliament. You have seen that how the President Mahama received him at the airport. So that warmth is there. That rekindling that old relationship you can witness from these visuals. And this clearly shows that India is attaching an importance to to investment in Ghana. As far as the defense and strategic partnership is concerned, India is looking at African continent with the perspective of a bigger partnership with larger investment and becoming part of the African growth story at a time when Africa is also transforming and India is also looking for new shores for investment and relationship and securing the rare earth minerals, because that is the competition which is rightly on across the globe, and Ghana is an important source of minerals for across the countries.
Right. Pranay, look at the visuals. They're very clear that, the Indian community, as always, excited to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There is an Indian connect over here as well, as we would be showing you when he travels to various other countries in his 5-country tour. But then there is the Indian connect over here, the fact that there was so much of importance attached to Indian culture, Indian music, Jai Ho being played at the hotel during the reception.
Not only Jai Ho, Hare Krishna was played there, Jai Ho was played there. This clearly shows that, even if the Indian Prime Minister couldn't take a visit to Ghana, but that connection with India remains with the Indian diaspora. Ghana has, as I told you, that 15,000 Indian diaspora, but they remain connected with India, a lot of trade relation with Ghana. And it's an important destination. As you have also pointed out, the fastest growing economy of, Western Africa. India has significant contribution and investment in Ghana, and we also want to expand that relationship, especially the western coast of the African continent. Besides that, as you have asked about the other countries included and the Indian diaspora connect. So if you see, after Ghana, Prime Minister would be visiting Trinidad and Tobago in Caribbean, and that is a country where large number of Indian diaspora is there, Indian connect is there, be it the civilizational connect, be it the cultural connect, be it the religious connect. So Trinidad Tobago, Prime Minister would be visiting not only Trinidad Tobago, he will be addressing the parliament there. Even in Ghana, Trinidad, Brazil, Namibia, Prime Minister will be given civilian awards there. And that is also that this shows the kind of warmth these countries want to express for and how much do they care and give importance to a relationship with India. So this is the significance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. You can say that it's a longest tour of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as far as the foreign visits are concerned, but this is also a tour which encompasses and give a new shape to India's policy towards the global south, because all these countries are the global south countries, and India has become a prominent voice of global south, and this is a gesture with which India want to show that how much do we care about this relationship and how much we want to contribute to the growth story and have shared experiences with all these countries in terms of defense relationship. A lot of defense deals are also on cards, Gita.
Right. Pranay, thank you so much for joining us. We will be tracking the story very closely. It's a very important visit. But here's a report on the significance of not just his visit to Ghana, but what this 5-country visit entails and how important this visit is for India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins his 5-nation diplomatic tour in an effort to reach out to the global south. This 9-day tour is seen as the Prime Minister's longest visit overseas. The Prime Minister will visit Ghana, Trinidad, Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia. Prime Minister will also attend the BRICS Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro. Modi begins his tour by first stopping at Ghana, his first bilateral visit and also first prime ministerial visit to the country in 3 decades. India shares a growing trade and investment policy with Ghana. India imports more than 70% of Ghanaian gold. Economy, energy, defense and development cooperation are likely issues to be discussed. The next destination is Trinidad Tobago, where 40 to 45% of the Indian diaspora live. Even Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissessar and President Christine Carlo Kangaloo are of Indian origin. This will also be Modi's first visit to Trinidad Tobago and the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister after 1999. This will also mark 180 years of the arrival of Indian immigrants in Trinidad Tobago. On July 4th, the Prime Minister will land in Argentina and meet Javier Milei, one of the most important ally of the US. Milei's election campaign was particularly famous as he wielded chainsaw during his campaign and also gifted one to the Tesla CEO Elon Musk. This will also be the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 57 years. Cooperation in defense, agriculture, mining, oil and gas, energy will likely to be the topic of discussion. India is also eyeing Argentina's mineral resources, especially lithium for India's green energy transition. The South American country is also a major supplier of soybean and sunflower oil. The next important stop is Brazil, where the Prime Minister will be on a state visit. He will also attend the two-day BRICS Leaders Summit. Global governance, peace and security, multilateralism, AI, climate action, global health will top the Prime Minister's talking agenda at the summit. He is also expected to hold bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit. Modi concludes his 9-day tour by visiting Namibia, his first and the third for an Indian Prime Minister. Modi will pay homage to the founding father of Namibia, Dr Sam Nujoma, and will also address the nation's parliament. India has largely invested in mining, manufacturing, diamond processing and services in Namibia. In 2022, 8 cheetahs from Namibia were released by the Prime Minister at Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, has put all speculations to rest. He has laid out his succession plan ahead of his 90th birthday, which will be celebrated on the 6th of July. He said he will indeed have a successor after his death.
As the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama approaches, Buddhist Tibetan devotees and especially the Chinese government is eager to know who is going to be the next Dalai Lama. Putting rest to all speculations, the exiled spiritual leader have laid out his succession plan, saying he will have his successor after his death. He further said his non-profit institution, Ghanaian for Drunk Trust, will be entrusted with the sole authority to identify his reincarnation.
If it is about Lama's reincarnation, when all the followers have unanimously said that the reincarnation should continue, then it is obvious that it will come. The responsibility for doing so will rest exclusively with the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
The message is also seen as directed towards China, which says the approval for Dalai Lama's succession should be given by the communist government. China considers Dalai Lama as a separatist. It wants to control the succession of the Dalai Lama in order to tighten its grip on Tibet.
The reincarnation of living Buddhas is a unique way of succession in Tibetan Buddhism, which has lasted for over 700 years and has formed a strict religious ritual and historical custom. The reincarnated children of major living Buddhas such as the Dalai Lama and the Pancham Lama need to be identified through evaluation and approval by the central government. The Chinese government implements a policy of freedom of religious belief and has issued regulations on religious affairs and the management of the reincarnation of living Buddhas in Tibetan Buddhism, protecting this way of succession in accordance with the law.
However, there is no tradition of the Dalai Lama to be born only in Tibet. But the present 14th Dalai Lama said his successor will be born outside China. That had angered Beijing.
There is no traditional kind of restriction. Dalai Lama should born in Tibet. Dalai Lama born in Mongolia, the third one, and Dalai Lama born today in India, the sixth Dalai Lama, and there's no nationality or geographical boundary.
The Dalai Lama fled to India in 1959 after a failed uprising against the Mao Zedong government. He also set up a government in exile in Dharamshala. The spiritual leader is set to celebrate his birthday on July 6, and the event will be attended by more than 7,000 guests, including famed Hollywood actor and longtime follower of His Holiness Richard Gere. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me in an exclusive conversation from Boston is the former president of CTA, that's Central Tibetan Administration, the government in exile, Dr. Lapang Sani. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin with what has been decided. There are a few things that have been spelled out, and Chinese reaction is already there about the fact that the Dalai Lama will have to get, the successor would have to get approval from Beijing. Your first reaction?
Well, Chinese government has no business because in recognizing a spiritual leader, it's a communist party, atheist party, which says that religion is poison, destroyed all kinds of Tibetan monasteries and nunneries, destroyed monks and nuns, and criticized Dalai Lama throughout his life. So they have zero credibility whatsoever. Ultimately, it is the personal decision of the Dalai Lama, because the idea of reincarnation is to continue the traditional mission or the vision of the previous Lama. So it is for Dalai Lama to decide, and thankfully, we are so happy and elated that His Holiness decided that the 15th Dalai Lama will come, and the institution of Dalai Lama will continue, and his office, Ghanaian Fordang Trust, will handle the reincarnation process.
Well, also, Dr. Sani, it's very interesting that, there was a time when His Holiness the Dalai Lama had said that when he's close to his 90s, he'll consult and then decide whether if it is the right time or not, and whether if the institution should continue or there should be a successor or not. And now he's finally said that, yes, he will have a successor, and that there will be a process in place to choose the successor.
Yes, very likely, because he has been the symbol of the Tibetan movement and Tibetan nation, Tibetan civilization. So in early 60s and 70s, even till in early 80s, he did think about and sometimes said this could be the last Dalai Lama, and sometimes he has said maybe it's best to end when it's popular and regarded and loved by everybody, right? But then it has evolved. In his statement, it says very clearly, in the last 14 years, when I was the president of Tibetan government exile and other groups organized many special meetings, head of religious leaders from the Himalayan region, the Russian republics and Mongolians and Buddhists around the world appealed to him that the reincarnation of Dalai Lama should come and institution of Dalai Lama should continue. And finally, he has listened to the appeal and blessed us that the institution of Dalai Lama will come. So this is a major news, a major relief for Tibetans that we will have the next Dalai Lama.
Okay, the process is in place. The trust will look for and choose the successor. But Dr. Sani, there was a statement that was made earlier where the Dalai Lama would be born, like which place would he be born in? And it was said that he could be born anywhere outside of China or Chinese occupied territories. But that decision was not a part of the statement or announcements made today. So how does one look at it? Were they being careful in not putting that statement in, and in all probability, it's a given that they're not going to be in China if they're being careful, and if they're going to choose, they certainly are not going to choose somebody from a place where they have no access.
No, I don't think so, because in his book, the latest book, Voice for the Voiceless, I recommend everybody buy and read it. He makes it categorically clear that the Chinese government has no role whatsoever in the selection process of Dalai Lama, and the reincarnation of Dalai Lama will be born in a free world outside of China. So that's a categorical statement. He has made his choice where to be born, outside of China in a free world. So that is a categorical statement, and now his office, institution of the Dalai Lama or the Ghanaian Fordang, will handle the selection process.
Dr. Lapang Sani, thank you so much for joining us. This is a big story, and we'll see how China reacts to the statements made over here. They've already rejected the process. Thank you. US President Donald Trump announced that Israel has agreed for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza on necessary conditions and urged militant group Hamas to accept the deal before it worsens. Trump announced the development as he prepared to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for talks at the White House next week.
United States President Donald Trump announced that Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. In a statement posted on Truth Social, Trump claimed, "My representatives had a long and productive meeting with the Israelis today on Gaza. Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize the 60-day ceasefire, during which we will work with all the parties to end the war. The Qataris and Egyptians, who have worked very hard to help bring peace, will deliver this final proposal." Trump quoted that Qatar and Egypt would be responsible for submitting the finalized terms of the agreement. He also urged Hamas to accept the proposed ceasefire deal for the sake of peace in the Middle East. President Trump's ceasefire announcement comes before a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu scheduled for next week. Trump, while addressing the reports on Tuesday, said that he expects to have a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the United States.
We're also going to talk about Gaza. We want to get the rest. We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about Gaza.
Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar posted on X that there is majority support in the government for a framework to release hostages, and this opportunity must not be missed. Earlier, Qatari officials had submitted a ceasefire proposal to both Hamas and Israel, which is backed by the Trump administration. The proposal includes a 60-day ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and a phased release of hostages held by Hamas. Around 50 Israeli hostages are still in Gaza, at least 20 of whom are believed to be alive. This is not the first time that an Israel-Gaza ceasefire has been announced. In January, Israel and Hamas reached a ceasefire agreement concerning the Gaza Strip. However, in early March, hostilities resumed after Israel accused Hamas of rejecting a temporary ceasefire plan proposed by the US Special Envoy to the Middle East. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.
US President Donald Trump visited the new Florida detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, where around 3,000 migrants are expected to be held as part of his crackdown on illegal immigration. While touring the facility in Florida Everglades, Trump said it will soon hold the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. Trump raved about the facility's quick construction as he scanned rows of dozens of empty bunk beds enclosed in cages and warned about the threatening conditions surrounding the facility. The facility sits some 37 miles from Miami in a vast subtropical wetland teeming with alligators, crocodiles, and pythons. Fearsome symbolism the White House has leveraged to show its determination to purge migrants it says were wrongly allowed to stay in the country under former President Joe Biden's administration. Speaking alongside Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, Trump called Biden. He used terms that are not very parliamentary and blamed him for efforts to jail him.
I thought this was so professional and so well done that you should come and look at it as opposed to standing around and not knowing where we are. And we're just taking tours through the areas where they stay and the areas where the medical is and all. Here, to be honest. Hey, Biden wanted me in here, okay? That's it. He wanted me. It didn't work out that way, but he wanted me in here. That son of a... Expectation what this will.
That's all in this edition of World Today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care. Bye.